Hey everybody, welcome to etrailer.com. I'm Bobby, and today we're taking a look at the eTrailer J-Style Kayak Carrier here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. Now guys, it's going to be a very nice little decent way of getting your kayak to wherever you want to go. Now the eTrailer Kayak Carrier is going to give you a lot of the advantages you might see on some of the more premium carriers without having to break the bank, which is always great for ourselves today. So as you guys are seeing, this little carrier does a great job, of course, just holding our kayak up on here. One thing I really like about it, comes with these very nice strap kits. So we kind of always tell people to take a look at these strap kits even when they are on some other carriers. Because the straps just work really well. And you have a couple little features that are going to be very nice with it. The big ones are going to be this little cam buckle that is actually covered here today. So you can see we have this little felt covering here. Does a great job of preventing us from rubbing up against our kayak, potentially kind of creating any damage on our fiberglass or any other kind of material we might have for our kayak. And then secondly too, it just protects it from the weather a little bit, which can be great. Combat that rust and corrosion for ourselves. Of course, the enamel that's on that cam buckle is going to do a somewhat decent job of also doing that. Always very helpful to try to dry these guys out though, of course. You're going to be dealing with wet elements, so any little help you can give it is definitely going to keep it lasting for the longer time. And the strap themselves too, nice and thick, not going to be fraying anytime soon. And you also do get bow and stern straps, but we'll go ahead and kind of break those down here in just a little bit. What's awesome about this guy, you're going to have no trouble getting those kayaks up on here. So with 165 pounds of weight capacity, I'm sorry guys, 150 pounds of weight capacity, you're gonna have no trouble getting most of the kayaks you need on here. I haven't really seen any kayaks that are exceeding that weight. Seems definitely up there for myself. So I think we're gonna be a-okay on getting our kayaks up on this guy. Now the only thing I will say, it can be a little harder to get them up on here. I'm about 6'1", and you guys can see on the Tiguan, our bars here are actually pretty much height level for myself. So to get the kayak up on here, you do kind of have to lift over these guys. Now you can kind of utilize this front element here. I will say it is aluminum, so I doubt you're gonna be causing too much stress to your kayak utilizing these. It would be nice if we had some kind of rubber right here to go ahead and make that a little easier. I just still find myself wanting to get it over those humps though. So one thing I will say, if you're on the shorter side, this might be a little bit harder to do. You might want to start looking at some kayak load assist options. Now there's a ton of them out there. The Thule Elevator and the Yakima Showdown are going to be your more premium load assist options. Those actually give you some arm supports. Now that Elevator goes one extra step, has some little gas struts on there. So if you're really struggling with your kayak and that weight's a real problem, you know, they definitely are heavy. It's hard to get up on there. If you need a little help, those gas struts definitely do help a lot. Now the Malone downloader is going to keep you in that J-Style Kayak Carrier style as well though. So if you really like the J-Style and you're not really liking how big those premium options are, the Malone downloader can be a nice little way of giving yourself a little load assist on the side too. And kind of speaking of that load assist, you guys can see our crossbars here today are definitely a little bit longer. Personally, if I was probably just sticking with the eTrailer Kayak Carrier here for myself, I might go ahead and shorten down my bars. What these bars are great for is a lot of those load assist options, because you do need a lot of overhang to clear your sidewall here on your vehicle. That way it's not making contact as it comes down. But for ourselves here today, didn't really impact me too much getting the kayak up on there, and we'll kind of break that down when we go ahead and get this guy off of here. Well, like I said, it's not going to take us too much time to go ahead and get this guy on and off. Let's go ahead and see how we actually are utilizing our straps to hold onto our kayak. All right guys, here we are just gonna go ahead and take a look at our stern strap here today. One thing that's nice about these straps as well, on these guys and on the middle, you do have this nice little nylon cord here. It comes great to hold on your extra straps. Now these guys can easily furl out on some of the other designs out there because there's not a good holder. What I like about these, it does a great job just bending it in, keeping it nice and tight, and we don't have it flailing all around for ourselves. But we can actually go ahead and see how this is being held. I'm gonna go ahead and just give myself a little slack here to allow our door to open. All we gotta do though, simply pop up our hatch here. And as you guys are going to see, all we have is a little, commonly referred to as dog bone, or a little foam anchor here today. So what's nice about these guys, honestly, all you have to do, set it somewhere where you are going to get good contact, and then that's going to create an awesome little temporary mounting point for yourself. And that offers you some advantages. A lot of times you start seeing like an S-style metal hook on there. No, those do work good, especially if you have a nice little hookup like a hitch or something underneath your vehicle. However, they're very limited, right? You need that hard point of contact. You're going to need a D-ring somewhere to go ahead and actually latch on here. What's nice, I don't have to worry about any of that, right? I don't really have any obvious hookups right away here. I can go ahead, throw this in my vehicle, and then bring my hatch down, and it'll just create that mounting point for myself. So it becomes very, very easy to use. Definitely something we always recommend people to try out, because it definitely makes your life just that much easier. One thing we did want to point out, you guys can see you actually do get full access to your hatch here, which is great. Now that is really thanks to the J-Style Carrier itself. Now, you start comparing this to saddle style, what ends up happening, your stand-up paddle boards or your kayaks end up kind of just hanging there flat, and what happens is you don't get this nice little angle or this keel in the back here that's getting you up and away. You start dealing with this little edge here, and that starts impacting your hatch a lot. So one huge advantage of the J-Style is this capability of still opening up your hatch, which is awesome, right? We can go ahead and access that, especially if you're at gas stations or anything like that on the way to our destination is gonna be great because, of course, once we take our kayak off, we're gonna have plenty of room to get into our cargo no matter what carrier we have. So nice that we can go ahead, access that when we need to. All right, guys, we've gone ahead and undone our bow and our stern straps, and that brings us to our main elements here, holding on to our kayak. So I do want to take note of how we have this guy. You guys can see that nylon cord also up here for all of your extra strap. And I do want to take note, this is going to be our one end of our strap. Well, this is our other. To undo it, we just simply pop that little lever right there. It's going to go ahead and allow us to take that excess strap length out and off to the side. So do take note of how we have this set up, right? We have both of our straps in the back there. Those are gonna be set up through our back post. That's gonna allow us to bring them both over the back here, the front of our kayak. And what we really want is all of our pressure pushing our kayak into our carrier, right? So we don't have anything underneath it. We all have it on the front. That's all bringing in line, keeping it nice and secure to our carrier. I like to go ahead and throw my strap just through that little hoop there, and then definitely underneath your crossbar system once. This is gonna really take a lot of that stress off of your carrier. If you do hit a big bump and your kayak wants to shift up, you are gonna be nice and secure there to your roof rack system. Now you can go the extra mile and put it on your raised rail system. Now it's not something you have to do, and I would just make it to where you don't have it shifting around by utilizing one of your towers here. But we can go ahead and get all this strap all the way undone. Just simply wanna run it through. And on the back there, guys, you guys are gonna see, all I have to do is simply pull my cam buckle towards me. That way, if that strap does fall, we don't have our cam buckle doing any damage to our vehicle or our kayak. Now that we have our straps off, we can go ahead and actually take off our kayak. To do so, you guys are gonna see this little well of space right here behind your kayak. What I like to do, go ahead and shift the side of your kayak into that position. Now, while that happens, this top is gonna rotate to us. So if you find yourself being kind of the same height as I am, very easy to catch that top lid as it comes down. But if you are kind of struggling with the height, one thing I can recommend, utilizing the side here on that side of the cockpit, that becomes great of allowing yourself to go ahead and shift it. And that's gonna go ahead and let you hold it right here, guys. So a lot of that weight is still on my carrier itself. I'm just keeping it from over rotating, of course. That way all that weight is still there. That's gonna allow me to get underneath here, get properly situated. You can really feel out that weight. I can feel it wants to shift behind me. I can shift my weight appropriately and walk it away. All right, guys, now that we have the kayak removed, we can go ahead and take a closer look here at our carrier. So big things right out of the gate, you're gonna have these nice little marine foam blockers here today, making sure that we're not rubbing too much on our aluminum frame with our kayak. Again, that's gonna do a great job of preventing any damage to it. You also are gonna have this little rubber pad here in the middle. Now it does have this springiness in the middle, which would be great. However, more likely than not, your kayak is gonna be resting here on these guys' edges. So not really too much rubber there. You do have just these little kind of hard points of contact where those guys are gonna be sitting. Now that can be nice to kind of combat a little bit of shock, kind of absorption here, maybe from the road shake. However, not gonna be doing a huge crazy job there, just mainly for that protection on your kayak. Now, one thing, of course, this is a adjustable J-Style carrier. So you guys can see here today, to do so, all we have to do, pop those guys to the back here like so. That's gonna go ahead and allow us to rotate this all the way, which is pretty cool for ourselves. Now, of course, mainly we're gonna find ourselves in this J-Style position. One thing I do wanna go ahead and do though, is just get our max height here for ourselves, guys. So when it's all the way flush to the top there, we can go ahead and see from the top of our roof bar here today to the very bottom here is going to be putting us around about 17 5/8 of an inch. That's about 17 3/4 or so, just a hair underneath it, guys. So definitely going to be not too much height that we're adding on here. I've seen some of the other carriers maybe about 1/2 inch to an inch higher than it. And of course, we can always, again, bring this guy down for ourselves. So if we wanted to go ahead, pull this in the garage maybe, we can go ahead and just simply slot it like so. That's gonna go ahead and allow us to bring it down. Now I might bring it down one more step later, but as you guys can see, that max height is gonna be limited right here on the edge of our holder. And that is going to be putting us right at 4.5 inches for ourselves there, guys. So not going to be adding too much room in this position. Now, the one thing I will say about the eTrailer Kayak Carrier, it is lightweight, it is aluminum, makes it really, really easy to throw this guy up on here, especially as you guys can see how our flange system works. So it's just 2 little bolts here today, guys, and utilizing a flange mount. That guy simply just slots underneath it. We do have these little hand knobs here to go ahead, lefty loosey, righty tighty, of course, to go ahead and allow ourselves to clamp onto any crossbar system you guys might have. So these guys are gonna have a pretty decent time fitting your round, square, arrow, factory, elliptical, all those guys can have no problem. Personally, I think it does a better job fitting on your arrow bars here. Now, if you have very thick crossbars, you might start running into a little bit of issue. These bolts aren't the longest. Now, we can always go ahead and just change out those bolts at home. A hardware store is gonna have exactly what you're looking for. And just give yourself a little bit of a longer bolt. The only thing I'll say with that, make sure you guys are checking with your crossbar system at home to give yourselves a pretty good idea of your clearance. So today, we're only working with about 2 and maybe 2.5, maybe about 2.25 there inches of clearance between our top of our corrugate. So keep in mind, can't get too long of bolts as well. And yeah, I think that's the hardest part of installation with this guy is starting that. Sometimes the bolt doesn't quite like fixing into the nut on that hand knob. So that can be somewhat of a frustration. However, if you just go ahead, give yourself a second, sandwich it with your other hand and tighten it on, you should have no trouble. But like I said, if that bolt becomes kind of too much of a pain for you, we can always go ahead, maybe give ourselves a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch more on that bolt just to make that mounting that much easier. And talking about the mounting, the big thing for me on this guy, no security measures. So unlike the Yakima J-Lo that has a little locking core that's included, making sure you can leave it attached to your vehicle unattended, this guy has no security measures. So at any point, somebody could walk up, start untightening these bolts, and take our carrier. Now that's easily combated by doing the same thing for ourselves and then putting inside our vehicle. However, like I said, sometimes that becomes just a pain to do. And that's, in my opinion, that's the only failing that the eTrailer Kayak Carrier has. There's no security measure on it. But like I said, with it being lightweight, easy to take off, it definitely becomes a convenience factor in my opinion though. So if you find yourself not really trusting it just on here willy-nilly and you just don't want to keep pulling it on and off, taking that time, highly recommend taking a look at that Yakima J-Lo. Gonna give you a nice little locking core feature to make sure that it's nice and secure on our vehicle. Well guys, as you saw, that installation and the carrier itself is a pretty nice little setup on the top of our rooftop. Now the one thing I will say, again, is it does take a little time to get it installed. So that's my only thing with it. Now it's not the worst thing in the world, trust me. It takes you about, I don't know, I say like 2 minutes. It's just one of those things that can become a frustration, especially if your hands are cold or wet. And again though, easily solved by just a somewhat longer bolt, and that's gonna solve your issue right out of the gate. So these are gonna be a great way, guys, if you are wanting that J-Style Kayak Carrier without having to break the bank. Again, you're getting a really nice strap tie-down kit with it as well. Those straps, we always try to tell people, take a look at it, especially when you're comparing it with the other carriers, as it just gives you those nice little advantages, right? Like those tie-offs, that felt covering in the cam buckle system, and of course the straps themselves are gonna be holding up for a while for ourselves. Again, the only recommendations I could say here, maybe take a look at some load assist options if it is a little high for you. The Tiguan already does sit a little high, again, about 6'1", so you guys can kind of compare that with yourselves at home. But yeah, guys, I think that that's about gonna do it for our look at the eTrailer J-Style Kayak Carrier here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.